Okay, today I want to talk about a kind of a controversial aspect related to training. A lot of bodybuilders and people involved in weight training, they believe that doing aerobic or endurance exercise right after a weight training session, or what they call concurrent training, meaning first you would lift weights, then you would do aerobics. They believe that the aerobics done immediately after weight training can negate a lot of the muscle gains and the processes involved in muscle hypertrophy. This has been a ongoing controversy for several years, and there's been several studies done. They go back and forth. I can tell you one thing for sure, though. A lot of people wonder if they should do aerobics before or after a weight training session, and I can tell you that the answer to that definitely is to do it after. Do not do it before, because when you do aerobics before a weight training session, you'll be burning up or breaking down a lot of muscle glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate in muscle. This is particularly true if you train your legs. To do a full aerobics training session, let's say 30 minutes or more, before you train your legs is just insane. You're going to completely destroy your leg workout, because your legs, again, the muscles depend on stored muscle glycogen, and the aerobics will burn as much as 40% or more of the glycogen, taking away a lot of the quality of the workout and impeding muscle growth for sure. But let's just talk generally about concurrent training. Studies published about 10 years ago that looked at the issue of whether doing aerobics or endurance, whatever you want to call it, let's call it aerobic training, immediately following a weight workout, could possibly have one negative effect, and that had to do with the interference of what's known as explosive strength. Explosive strength is related to power. Power is defined as the amount of speed or that occurs over a certain distance. In other words, something really fast and strong, like let's a punch. That's explosive strength. That's power. Sprinting, that's explosive power. A lineman in football slamming into the other team, that's explosive power. A weightlifter performing the snatch, where you have to lift it up real fast with a lot of strength, that's explosive strength. Again, related to power. It's very close. It's more or less the same thing, basically. And what this original study showed was that concurrent training interfered with the development of explosive strength. It's been checked over the years, and again, it's gone back and forth. But an important point is that all of the studies basically showed, what bodybuilders, for example, are concerned with is muscle growth. They don't want to do aerobic training after weight training if it's going to block muscle growth. The good news is that none of the studies showed that doing aerobics after a weight workout interfered with muscle growth. Again, if you do them before the workout, if you do aerobics before the workout, it could interfere with muscle growth. Afterwards, no. As a matter of fact, studies show you burn more fat if you do aerobics following a weight training session, because of the fact that you have exhausted some muscle glycogen, and because of that, your body will tap into fat a little bit more readily. That's the whole basis of fasting aerobics. When you do aerobics on an empty stomach, such as when you first get up in the morning, that the idea is that your glycogen stores are low, so you'll be able to tap into your stored body fat faster. That's kind of debatable. But they just came out with a new study, and that's why I'm making this video. It was published in a journal called Sports Medicine. The title was Compatibility of Concurrent Aerobic and Strength Training for Skeletal Muscle Size and Function, an updated systematic review. So what this study did, it's kind of what they call a meta-analysis, where it looked at it looked at 37 studies that were published in the past few years, most recent studies related to concurrent training. The main finding, I'm reading it right now from the study, the main finding was that concurrent aerobic and strength training did not interfere with the development of maximal strength and muscle hypertrophy compared with strength training alone. In other words, the main finding of this survey of recent studies was that concurrent training did not interfere with the attainment of maximal muscle size and strength. but it did negatively affect, it confirmed that it negatively affected explosive strength. Now, if you want to have they found that to retain explosive strength gains, the aerobic workout and the weight workout would have to be separated by an average of 3 hours, or you can do it on different days. There was no significant effects found for other moderators, such as the type of aerobic training, cycling versus running, how often you did concurrent training. 4 days makes no difference. Makes this training status didn't enter, the untrained versus active. Even the age had no effect on this, whether you're under 40 or over 40. This particular meta-analysis focused on direct measures of explosive strength, such as jump performance and dynamic leg press power. And it said, and according here, I'm reading again, our findings reinforce that concurrent aerobic strength training can compromise strength qualities that require rapid neural activation. See, the reason that concurrent strength training interferes with explosive strength is that it kind of interferes with it's hard to explain because it's very complex. It interferes with the neural input into muscle. In other words, to have for explosive strength, because it's again speed over a certain distance, you have to have a very rapid neural response. Apparently, doing aerobics right after weight training somehow dampens this neural response, and that's the reason why it will decrease explosive strength, yet it won't affect maximal strength, which of course is the ability to lift maximum amounts of weight. Okay, let's see what else is there. I'm just reading the study. Previous studies have indicated that neuromuscular interference may be more pronounced when strength training is immediately preceded by aerobic training in both young and older individuals. Let's see, what else here? Numerous studies have focused on the possible interference mechanisms related to muscle hypertrophy. The rationale for these studies stems from rodent cellular models indicating possible inhibition of mechanistic target of rapamycin signaling through activation of AMP kinase. Okay, that was the reason given in all the past studies that found, if you on a molecular level, what was the factors that caused an interference with strength gains when aerobics was done after weight training. It had to do with when you do aerobics, it's divergent pathways. When you work your muscle, you're focusing on increasing the activity of what they call mTOR, the mechanistic target of rapamycin, which is it's a protein that plays a pivotal role in the muscle hypertrophy process. However, when you do aerobics, the shift instead of going on AMPK, instead of going on mTOR, instead shifts to AMPK. AMPK is a energy sensor in muscle. When you start to break down the immediate source of energy in muscle, which is adenosine triphosphate, ATP, it's converted into ADP and then AMP. But the point is, when this happens, it's sensed by the muscle, and you get this production of AMPK. What AMPK does is allows you to utilize other fuels, especially stored fat. Unfortunately, as AMPK rises, it tends to blunt the activity of mTOR, which means it interferes with muscle protein synthesis, and the lower level of muscle protein synthesis will interfere with muscle size gains. That was the mechanism. But as it says here in this new study, it says, however, subsequent human studies failed to confirm these findings when examining physiological mechanisms such as metabolic stress and AMPK activation or protein synthesis following concurrent exercise. Based on our systematic review, this is not surprising, as none of the identified studies reported significant interference on muscle hypertrophy. Like I said, all the past studies of concurrent training showed that doing aerobics, flat statement, doing aerobics after weight training did not interfere with muscle size gains. let's see, what else? Just looking at the studies here. A meta-analysis examining the effects of current high-intensity interval training and strength training reported the lower body strength development was compromised by concurrent training compared with strength training alone, although the authors noted a possible negative effect on lower body strength may be ameliorated by the inclusion of running-based high-intensity interval training and longer intermodal rest periods. In other words, separating the aerobic training from the weight training. So let me see. That's about it, really. I mean, what this new study shows is that you really don't have to worry about doing aerobic training following weight training. In other words, you still see a lot of ill-informed people making videos and writing on blogs about how if you do aerobics after weight training, it's going to compromise your muscle gains. Well, this is basically this kind of definitive analysis that I just discussed shows that you do not sacrifice muscle gains or maximal strength if you do aerobics directly after weight training. However, I speaking personally, I have what I've done over the years is when I do my aerobics, I only do it after my upper body training. In other words, chest back workouts, shoulder and arm workouts, I do aerobics. I don't do it on my leg training days. It could be that, call it a force of habit. I started to institute that idea when the early studies came out, which did indicate an interference with muscle gains if you did aerobics right after weight training. And I said to myself, well, why go through a heavy and hard leg workout and then do aerobics and negate the whole weight workout? And after that, I just stopped doing aerobics following weight, only my lower body training. I still do it to this day. I don't do any aerobics after leg training, although the truth of the matter is, according to all the recent studies that were discussed in this meta-analysis, if I did do aerobics after after leg training, it really wouldn't interfere with any muscle gains. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in muscle gains that much anyway at my age. All I'm trying to do is maintain what I have. I want to keep my legs strong because they're important for mobility. I don't want to have to wind up, with a walker, walking around one of those walkers where you can't move. So I continue to train my legs pretty hard. I cannot train them as heavy as I used to, and I wouldn't anyway because, again, I'm not trying to get 30-inch thighs. It's pointless. What I'm trying to do is maintain as much strength as I can, basically to maintain my mobility. And because leg training, people don't realize, your legs are actually almost like a second heart. By training your legs, you help to push the blood back towards the heart. It actually takes a lot of the stress off the heart. So that's another reason to train legs. And by the way, the old saying about the legs are the first to go as you get older is true. If you look at a lot of bodybuilders who came back after retirement, a lot of them achieved pretty good, they reproduced a lot of their upper body muscle, but their legs never really matched the way they looked when they were younger. A lot of that is beyond the scope of this video. It has to do with the loss of motor neurons, which are the nerves which innervate muscles. They kind of like shrivel up. As you get old, it's harder to maintain muscle size for that reason. But what they've also found is that if you do weight training for the legs, you can maintain, you could lower the loss of muscle size that would normally come with age by as much as 50 or 60%. So that's another reason why I continue to train my legs. The way I train it, I use light to moderate weights, and I do 15 to 20 reps with each set close to, not to complete failure, but close to failure, whereas I might have done maybe 1 or 2 more reps to failure. I stop at that point, and it works very well. It's maintaining my leg size. My legs are not nearly, I used to do 600-pound squats. My legs are pretty big. I'm not going to say my legs are the same size. They're much smaller than they used to be, but using this type of training has allowed me to maintain as much muscle size as possible. I think it works. I would suggest this type of training for anybody over 40. And there's still another factor why I train my legs in this manner, because I have, unfortunately, severe knee arthritis in both knees. I got that from doing certain bad exercise, which I discussed in past videos. For example, doing hack squats with very heavy weight with my knees right kind of held next to each other. That shaved away my knee cartilage. I did that for 30 years and shaved away my knee cartilage. And as a result, I have knee arthritis, which limits the amount of weight I could use. So that's another reason why I use light to moderate weights when I train legs. It works very well. And if I say so myself, I still have a pretty good amount of leg definition even after all these years. So it seems to be working pretty good. Another thing I think is kind of funny is that when I competed as a bodybuilder, when I got down to low body fat, I wasn't really what you'd call vascular. I didn't show a lot of veins. It's a genetic thing. You know, the guys that are super vascular, they're born with the veins which are where they're closer to the surface, where when they lose body fat, the veins are very prominent. I didn't have that genetic capability, but the strange thing is, in the last couple of years, I don't know whether it's because I'm doing this higher rep training or whatever, I now show more vascularity in my thighs than I did even when I competed as a bodybuilder and went on extremely low carbohydrate diets and all that. It's kind of funny to me to look at these veins in my legs. I didn't have them years ago, but now I have them. And of course, I have no intention of competing, don't get me wrong. But that's about it. So again, to sum up real fast, you can do your aerobics after your weight training. You don't have to worry about losing muscle. You don't have to worry about not gaining strength. The only thing it will affect adversely is what they call explosive strength. If you're involved in a sport that requires a lot of explosive strength, again, sprinting, maybe even martial arts, with the punching, that's, you want to have explosive strength and power in the punch. In that situation, you probably want to separate your aerobic workouts from your weight workout. And again, they found that a minimal 3 hours is best, or you could simply do your aerobic training on alternate days. For example, let's talk about arm training, where you're the punching power. What you do is, on those days when you train your arms and shoulders, don't do aerobics. Do it the next day. Let's say chest and back or something that won't affect the arms and shoulders that much. That's when you would do your aerobics, and then you won't have your explosive strength or power adversely affected. So that's about it for this video. If you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, fat loss techniques that really work, anti-aging research you can use today to help to minimize or slow down the aging process. You cannot stop aging. Anyone who tells you can is full of crap. But what you can do is you can maintain what they call healthy aging, where you don't get decrepit as you age, where you don't lose your mind, where you don't lose your mobility, where your ability to walk and move around. 95% of people that are in nursing homes are there because they can't take care of themselves. Not necessarily from having diseases like Alzheimer's, but because their muscles are so frail and weak, they can't even feed themselves or dress themselves, and they can't walk. And that's what happens from years of inactivity and not working your muscles. And I talk about a lot of anti-aging research that will really help to minimize some of the bad effects of aging and make you look younger also. Your skin, there's ways to maintain a more youthful appearance in your skin. All of this is described in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. I also talk about women's health and fitness, supplement science, many other topics. I discuss more topics in my Applied Metabolics newsletter than any other digital publication on the entire internet. Nobody covers as many topics as me, and as far as I know, nobody has as much actual experience in this field. I have 58 years of constant study and empirical knowledge that I've learned from being in the trenches, in the gym, and also my own independent academic study that I don't think anyone could match that as far as I know. And having been a professional writer for close to 45 years, I know how to translate highly technical material into plain English that anybody with a 6th grade education will readily understand. I'm not writing a medical journal. That's the problem with some of these digital publications. They read like medical journals. They put all these technical terms. They never explain them. They're very difficult to read unless you have a very heavy science background. I write for the public. In other words, I present the same amount of technical information, but I write it in English so it's easily understandable. You don't have to have a science background. So subscribe today, Applied Metabolics at www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where every day I post new information on exercise science, nutrition, general medicine, and health. I also have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website where current subscribers only can send me short questions about anything they might have read in the newsletter, anything that pops up in their mind, as long as the questions are kind of short. For longer questions, or if you have several questions, I also do personal consults, which can be arranged. And you can also leave comments under these videos, including suggestions for future videos. I rarely have time to answer any comments left under the video, but anyone else is welcome to respond. So that's about it. So thank you for listening. Again, subscribe today. If you really want to learn, I'm telling you, if you really want to learn the truth, that I'm not aligned with any supplement company. I tell you the 100% truth about exercise and nutrition. www.appliedmetabolics.com. Promise you will learn something. Take care. Thank you for listening.